What if low energy, stubborn body fat, poor recovery, declining motivation, low libido, mood swings, and even accelerated aging are not separate problems at all? What if they're connected by a common biological thread? That thread is hormonal balance. More specifically, the balance between testosterone and estrogen. Now, when people hear the word testosterone, many immediately think about muscle building and masculinity. And when people hear estrogen, they often think only about female reproductive health. But that's a massive oversimplification. The truth is that both men and women require healthy levels of both testosterone and estrogen. These hormones influence far more than appearance. They affect energy, motivation, cognitive performance, sleep quality, mood, bone health, body composition, metabolism, recovery, and long-term vitality. Here's what's really going on inside your body. Hormones operate like a communication network. Imagine your body is a large city. Every organ, tissue, and cell is a different neighborhood. Hormones are the messages being delivered throughout that city. When communication is clear and balanced, the city functions efficiently. But when messages become distorted, delayed, or excessive, problems begin to emerge. Many people focus exclusively on increasing testosterone or lowering estrogen. But optimal health isn't about maximizing one hormone. It's about creating the proper balance between them. And that balance is influenced by factors most people overlook: sleep, nutrition, body fat levels, stress, exercise, sunlight exposure, insulin sensitivity, and overall metabolic health. What the research shows is that lifestyle factors often have a greater influence on long-term hormonal health than most people realize. This is encouraging because it means there are actions you can take every day to support healthier hormone production naturally. Now, here's where many people make a mistake. They treat hormonal symptoms as isolated issues. Low energy, they reach for caffeine. Poor sleep, they look for sleeping pills. Weight gain, they focus only on calories. Low motivation, they assume it's a willpower problem. But often these symptoms are signals that the body's hormonal environment may not be functioning optimally. Root cause thinking requires us to ask a different question. Why are the hormones becoming dysregulated in the first place? Because when we address the root causes, many symptoms begin improving together. Over the next several sections, we're going to break down exactly how testosterone and estrogen work, why they matter, and most importantly, how to optimize them using science-based tools. We'll discuss how metabolism and insulin influence hormones, why sleep may be the most powerful hormonal intervention available, how body fat affects testosterone and estrogen balance, the role of resistance training and physical activity, how stress and cortisol disrupt hormone production, and practical daily protocols that can support long-term hormonal health and vitality. If this is helpful so far, consider subscribing. I post content like this every day focused on hormones, metabolism, neuroscience, longevity, and science-based health optimization. Because once you understand how hormones actually work, you stop chasing symptoms and start building a healthier biological foundation. Now, let's begin by understanding what testosterone and estrogen actually do. Because one of the biggest misconceptions in health is that testosterone belongs to men and estrogen belongs to women. Biology is far more sophisticated than that. Both hormones are essential for both sexes. The difference is primarily in the amounts produced and how the body uses them. Here's what's really going on inside your body. Testosterone is often referred to as an anabolic hormone. It supports processes related to growth, repair, and performance. Healthy testosterone levels are associated with muscle maintenance, strength, recovery, motivation, confidence, libido, energy production, bone density, and cognitive function. In men, testosterone is primarily produced in the testes. In women, smaller amounts are produced by the ovaries and adrenal glands. Even though women produce less testosterone than men, it remains critically important for vitality, mood, muscle maintenance, and overall health. Now let's discuss estrogen. Estrogen is often misunderstood because many people associate it only with reproduction. But estrogen influences nearly every major physiological system. Healthy estrogen levels help regulate brain function, mood, cardiovascular health, bone strength, skin health, metabolic regulation, and reproductive function. In women, estrogen plays a central role throughout life. In men, estrogen is also necessary for bone health, brain function, libido, and overall hormonal balance. This is where balance becomes critical. Let me explain this with a simple analogy. Imagine testosterone and estrogen are like the accelerator and steering wheel of a high-performance vehicle. The accelerator provides power, the steering wheel provides control and direction. You need both Too much of one without proper balance creates problems. Optimal performance depends on coordination. The same principle applies to hormones. Now, here's something many people don't realize. Testosterone and estrogen are connected. In fact, some testosterone naturally converts into estrogen through an enzyme called aromatase. This process occurs in both men and women. And under healthy conditions, it's completely normal. The goal is not eliminating estrogen. The goal is maintaining appropriate hormonal relationships. What the research shows is that many symptoms blamed on low testosterone or high estrogen are often influenced by broader metabolic issues: poor sleep, excess body fat, insulin resistance, chronic stress, inflammation, nutrient deficiencies. These factors frequently affect hormone production long before laboratory values become dramatically abnormal. This is why focusing only on hormone numbers can be misleading. Hormones don't operate in isolation. They respond to the environment you create every day. Now let's talk about aging. Many people assume hormonal decline is inevitable, and while some age-related changes occur naturally, lifestyle factors significantly influence the rate and severity of those changes. Individuals who maintain healthy body composition, consistent exercise habits, quality sleep, and strong metabolic health often preserve hormonal function much more effectively than those who neglect these foundations. In other words, age matters. Age, but physiology matters too. And physiology is often more modifiable than people think. The key takeaway is simple. Testosterone and estrogen are not competing hormones. They're complementary hormones. The goal isn't maximizing one while minimizing the other. The goal is creating an internal environment where both can function optimally. Because when hormonal balance improves, energy, recovery, body composition, cognitive performance, and overall vitality often improve as well. In the next section, we'll explore one of the biggest hidden drivers of hormonal health: insulin and metabolic function. Because long before hormone levels change, metabolism is often sending signals that shape the entire hormonal system. Now let's discuss one of the most important and often overlooked drivers of testosterone and estrogen balance: metabolic health. Because before many hormonal problems appear, metabolic dysfunction is often developing behind the scenes. Here's what's really going on inside your body. Every hormone operates within a larger physiological environment, and one of the most important hormones influencing that environment is insulin. Most people think of insulin as a blood sugar hormone. That's true. But insulin also plays a major role in body composition, energy regulation, inflammation, and hormone production. When insulin functions properly, nutrients are efficiently delivered into cells for energy and repair. But when insulin levels remain chronically elevated, a condition often associated with excess calorie intake, frequent snacking, poor sleep, and physical inactivity, the hormonal environment begins to change. Let me explain this with a simple analogy. Imagine your body's hormone system is like a symphony orchestra. Every hormone has its own instrument. Testosterone has a role, estrogen has a role, growth hormone has a role, cortisol has a role. Insulin acts like one of the conductors. If insulin signaling becomes disrupted, the entire performance can become less coordinated. This is one reason metabolic health is so closely connected to hormonal health. What the research shows is that insulin resistance is often associated with hormonal imbalances in both men and women. In men, poor metabolic health is frequently linked to lower testosterone levels. In women, insulin resistance can influence estrogen regulation and contribute to hormonal disturbances. Now, let's discuss body fat. Excess body fat, particularly visceral fat around the organs, is metabolically active. It's not simply stored energy, it behaves like an endocrine organ. As body fat increases, inflammatory signaling often increases as well, and inflammation can interfere with healthy hormone production. Additionally, excess body fat contains aromatase, the enzyme that converts testosterone into estrogen. This process is normal and necessary. However, when body fat levels become excessive, aromatase activity may increase significantly. As a result, hormonal balance can shift. This is one reason body composition plays such a major role in hormonal optimization. Now, here's an important point. Many people focus only on weight loss, but hormone optimization is not about becoming lighter. It's about becoming metabolically healthier. Two people can weigh exactly the same amount, yet one may have excellent insulin sensitivity and healthy hormone function, while the other struggles with metabolic dysfunction. The difference often lies in body composition, activity level, sleep quality, and overall metabolic fitness. Now let's discuss practical solutions. The first is improving insulin sensitivity. This can often be supported through regular resistance training, daily movement, adequate protein intake, high fiber whole foods, managing total calorie intake appropriately, and reducing excessive consumption of ultra-processed foods. Sleep also plays a major role. We'll discuss this in greater detail shortly, but even a few nights of poor sleep can negatively affect insulin sensitivity and hormone regulation. The second strategy is maintaining healthy body composition, not through crash dieting, not through starvation, but through sustainable nutrition and consistent physical activity, because sustainable physiology produces sustainable results. And here's the key takeaway. Many people chase testosterone boosters or estrogen blockers while ignoring metabolic health, but metabolism often sits upstream of hormone function. Improve metabolic health, and hormones frequently improve alongside it. If this is helpful so far, consider subscribing. I post content like this every day focused on science-based tools for optimizing hormones, metabolism, energy, and longevity naturally. In the next section, we'll explore what may be the most powerful natural hormone optimization tool available: sleep. Because some of the most important hormonal events in the human body occur while you're asleep. Now let's talk about what may be the most powerful natural hormone optimization tool available: sleep. Not supplements, not expensive biohacking devices, not extreme diets. Sleep. Because some of the most important hormonal events in the human body occur while you're asleep. Here's what's really going on inside your body. Your body operates on a circadian rhythm, a roughly 24-hour biological clock that regulates countless physiological processes. Hormone production is one of the most important. Testosterone, estrogen, growth hormone, cortisol, insulin, and many other hormones follow predictable daily patterns. When sleep is disrupted, those patterns become disrupted as well. Let me explain this with a simple analogy. Imagine your hormones are employees working the night shift in a factory. During the day, they're gathering information and preparing for repairs. At night, they perform the maintenance, they repair tissues, restore energy systems, support brain function, regulate metabolism, and coordinate hormone production. If the factory keeps shutting down before the work is finished, performance begins to suffer. That's exactly what happens when sleep is consistently shortened or fragmented. Now let's focus on testosterone. Research consistently shows that sleep duration and sleep quality strongly influence testosterone production. A significant portion of daily testosterone release occurs during sleep. This means that even if nutrition and exercise are optimized, chronic sleep deprivation can still impair hormonal health. Many people spend hundreds of dollars on supplements while sleeping only 5 or 6 hours per night. From a physiological standpoint, that's like trying to fill a bucket with water while a large hole remains in the bottom. The foundation must come first. Now let's discuss estrogen. Sleep also plays a critical role in regulating female reproductive hormones. Disrupted sleep can interfere with hormonal signaling throughout the endocrine system. Over time, this may contribute to mood disturbances, energy fluctuations, metabolic challenges, and changes in hormonal balance. This is one reason why sleep quality is important for both men and women. What the research shows is that poor sleep affects more than testosterone and estrogen. It can also increase cortisol, reduce insulin sensitivity, elevate hunger hormones, and promote fat gain. Notice how interconnected these systems are. Poor sleep affects metabolism, metabolism affects body composition affects hormone balance. Everything is connected. Now let's discuss growth hormone. Growth hormone is one of the body's primary recovery and repair hormones. Large pulses of growth hormone are released during deep sleep. These pulses support tissue repair, muscle recovery, metabolic health, and healthy aging. If deep sleep is consistently compromised, recovery often suffers. Now here's a practical protocol. First, prioritize consistency. Going to bed and waking up at similar times each day helps strengthen circadian rhythm. Second, get morning sunlight exposure within the first hour after waking. This helps anchor the body's internal clock and supports healthy hormonal signaling throughout the day. Third, reduce bright artificial light exposure in the evening, particularly during the hour before sleep. Fourth, maintain a cool, dark sleeping environment whenever possible. And finally, aim for sufficient total sleep duration. For most adults, that generally means approximately 7 to 9 hours per night. Now here's the key takeaway. Many people view sleep as passive, but physiologically, sleep is one of the most active periods of the day. It's when the body restores, repairs, and recalibrates the hormonal systems that influence nearly every aspect of health. Optimize sleep and hormone optimization becomes dramatically easier. Ignore sleep and nearly every other intervention becomes less effective. In the next section, we'll examine how body fat, exercise, and resistance training directly influence testosterone and estrogen balance, and why movement is one of the most powerful hormone regulating tools available. Now let's examine one of the most powerful ways to naturally optimize testosterone and estrogen, improving body composition and engaging in the right type of exercise. Because while supplements often receive the most attention, movement and body composition frequently have a much larger impact on hormonal health. Here's what's really going on inside your body. Hormones don't exist independently of your physical condition. They respond continuously to signals from your muscles, fat tissue, nervous system, and metabolic state. One of the strongest signals the body receives is whether it needs to maintain strength, muscle tissue, and physical performance. And that signal comes largely through exercise. Let me explain this with a simple analogy. Imagine your body is an energy-efficient company. The company only invests resources where they're needed. If muscles aren't being challenged, the company receives a message that maintaining large amounts of muscle tissue isn't a priority. But when muscles are consistently challenged through resistance training, the company receives a different message. Strength and performance are important. Invest resources here. Hormonal systems adapt accordingly. This is one reason resistance training is strongly associated with healthier testosterone levels, improved insulin sensitivity, and better overall metabolic function. Now let's discuss muscle tissue. Many people view muscle primarily as a cosmetic feature, but physiologically, muscle is a metabolic organ. It improves glucose disposal, supports insulin sensitivity, enhances metabolic flexibility, and contributes to long-term hormonal health. The more metabolically healthy muscle tissue you maintain, the more efficiently your body tends to regulate energy and hormones. What the research shows is that regular resistance training can improve many of the physiological systems that support healthy hormone production, not because lifting weights directly boosts testosterone permanently, but because it improves the entire metabolic environment in which hormones operate. Now let's talk about body fat. Earlier, we discussed aromatase, the enzyme that converts testosterone into estrogen. Fat tissue contains aromatase. As body fat increases, aromatase activity often increases as well. This can contribute to shifts in hormonal balance. In men, excessive body fat is often associated with lower testosterone levels and higher estrogen conversion. In women, excess body fat can also influence estrogen regulation and overall hormonal signaling. The solution isn't becoming extremely lean. That's another common mistake. Very low body fat levels can also create hormonal problems, especially in women where extremely low energy availability may negatively affect reproductive hormone function. The goal is not extremes. The goal is healthy body composition, sustainable body composition, the kind that supports long-term health, performance, and vitality. Now let's discuss exercise programming. A simple science-based approach includes resistance training 3 to 5 times per week. Regular walking or daily movement, occasional cardiovascular exercise for heart health and metabolic fitness, and adequate recovery between hard training sessions. Recovery is essential because hormones respond not only to training stress, but also to recovery from that stress. Many people mistakenly believe more exercise is always better, but excessive training without adequate recovery can elevate cortisol and potentially impair hormone function. Balance matters. Now here's a practical protocol. Focus on progressive resistance training. Prioritize compound movements such as squats, deadlifts, rows, presses, and pull-ups when appropriate for your fitness level. Consume adequate protein, walk daily, and maintain a body composition that supports health rather than chasing unrealistic standards. If this is helpful so far, consider subscribing. I post content like this every day, focused on science-based tools for optimizing hormones, metabolism, performance, and longevity. Because exercise isn't just changing your muscles, it's changing the hormonal signals that influence nearly every aspect of health. Now let's discuss one of the most underestimated threats to healthy testosterone and estrogen levels: chronic stress. Because many people focus on diet and exercise while completely overlooking the hormonal impact of their daily stress load. And from a physiological perspective, stress can profoundly influence hormone production. Here's what's really going on inside your body. When your brain perceives a threat, whether it's physical, emotional, financial, or psychological, it activates the stress response. This response involves the release of cortisol from the adrenal glands. Cortisol is not a bad hormone. In fact, it's essential for survival. It helps regulate blood sugar, supports energy production, enhances alertness, and helps the body respond to challenges. The problem isn't cortisol itself. The problem is chronic elevation. Because your body was designed for periods of stress, followed by periods of recovery, not constant activation. Let me explain this with a simple analogy. Imagine your body is operating with a limited resource budget. During normal conditions, resources can be allocated toward growth, repair, reproduction, recovery, and optimal hormone production. But when the brain detects prolonged stress, priorities shift. The body essentially says, now is not the time to focus on growth and optimization. We need to focus on survival. As a result, resources are diverted away from long-term functions. This can influence testosterone production, reproductive hormones, sleep quality, recovery, and metabolic health. In simple terms, the body becomes less interested in thriving and more interested in surviving. What the research shows is that chronic stress and persistently elevated cortisol are often associated with reduced testosterone levels in men and disruptions in reproductive hormone signaling in women. This makes sense from an evolutionary perspective. The body interprets chronic stress as an unfavorable environment, and hormonal systems respond accordingly. Now let's talk about sleep again. Notice how these systems overlap. Stress affects sleep. Poor sleep increases cortisol. Elevated cortisol worsens insulin sensitivity. Poor insulin sensitivity affects body composition. Body composition influences testosterone and estrogen balance. Everything is connected. This is why root cause thinking is so important. You can't separate hormones from the broader physiological environment. Now let's discuss a common modern challenge, psychological stress. Many people are no longer running from predators. But the nervous system often responds similarly to work pressures, financial concerns, constant notifications, information overload, and chronic uncertainty. The body doesn't always distinguish between physical threats and perceived threats. The stress response is activated either way. Now here's a practical protocol. First, create recovery periods throughout the day. Even 5 minutes of intentional relaxation can help regulate the nervous system. Second, prioritize regular physical activity. Exercise is one of the most effective tools for improving stress resilience when balanced appropriately. Third, spend time outdoors whenever possible. Nature exposure has been consistently associated with reductions in perceived stress. Fourth, maintain strong social connections. Supportive relationships help buffer stress responses. And finally, establish boundaries around technology and information consumption. Many people underestimate how much constant stimulation contributes to nervous system activation. Now, here's the key takeaway. Hormone optimization isn't only about increasing testosterone or balancing estrogen. It's about creating an internal environment where healthy hormone production can occur naturally. That means addressing sleep, metabolism, body composition, exercise, and stress. Because when cortisol remains chronically elevated, nearly every other hormonal intervention becomes less effective. And when stress is managed effectively, the entire hormonal system tends to function more efficiently. As we bring everything together, let's return to the central idea of this discussion. Optimizing testosterone and estrogen is not about chasing extreme hormone levels. It's about creating an internal environment where hormones can function as nature intended, because hormones don't operate in isolation. They respond continuously to the signals you provide through sleep, nutrition, movement, body composition, stress management, and overall metabolic health. Today, we've explored how testosterone and estrogen influence far more than reproductive health. They affect energy, motivation, mood, recovery, body composition, cognitive performance, bone health, and long-term vitality. We learned that both men and women require healthy levels of both hormones. The goal is balance, not maximization. We also discussed one of the most overlooked drivers of hormonal health, metabolism. Because insulin sensitivity, body composition, and metabolic function help create the foundation upon which healthy hormone production depends. When metabolic health improves, hormones often improve alongside it. Next, we examine sleep. And if there's one takeaway I want you to remember, it's this. You cannot consistently out-supplement poor sleep. Sleep is where much of the body's hormonal repair and regulation occurs. Protecting sleep may be one of the highest return investments you can make for your hormonal health. We then discussed body composition and exercise. Not because exercise is a magic solution, but because resistance training, movement, and maintaining healthy muscle mass send powerful signals that support hormone function, metabolic health, and healthy aging. And finally, we explored stress and cortisol. Because even the best nutrition and exercise plan can be undermined by chronic stress. The body cannot fully prioritize growth, recovery, and optimization when it constantly perceives a threat. Here's what's really going on inside your body. Every healthy habit either supports or challenges your hormonal environment. Every night of quality sleep, every resistance training session, every nutritious meal, every walk, every effort to manage stress. These are not isolated actions. They're signals. Signals that help your body determine how much energy to produce, how efficiently to recover, and how effectively to regulate hormones. So here's your challenge. Choose one habit from today's discussion and implement it consistently for the next 7 days. Maybe it's getting morning sunlight. Maybe it's prioritizing 7 to 9 hours of sleep. Maybe it's adding 3 resistance training sessions this week. Maybe it's reducing processed foods or taking a daily walk after meals. Start with one, track how you feel. Observe your energy, your recovery, your focus, your mood. Because sustainable hormone optimization doesn't happen through dramatic interventions. It happens through consistent daily behaviors repeated over time. If this video added value, like the video and subscribe to join thousands of others using science-based tools to optimize hormones, metabolism, performance, health, and longevity naturally. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.